Mayor Mielke, welcome back. Mayor's Monday here in WSAU, and as we are taping this, sometimes we don't always do this right on Monday. I know, surprise, magic of media. City, of course, preparing for the possibility of some nice October thunderstorms. What else would you expect? The weather being the way it has been, and being unpredictable these days, with snow in April, now storms in October. But of course, stuff that the city's prepared to handle.
Well, and I say this, hello Wassa, how you doing? I say this kind of in an amusing way, the weather's my fault too. And I think most people understand. It is fall. I actually mentioned this in my newsletter, for leaf pickup or something like that. Again, a service that the city provides that most cities in Wisconsin do not. Or a yardway site, if you're really gung-ho about raking up your leaves, haul it over there. But it is fall. That is one thing. In October and November, you could have a 60 to 70 degree day and the next day a foot of snow. Sometimes I wish people could realize that and be a little more realistic in their expectations. That's not the case always, but we're prepared for it. We're prepared for it with the Department of Public Works, no matter what facet that they have to do, who do a great job. In the city of Wausau, we're very lucky that we have those folks taking care of things as they do, and they're prepared and they're set to go, and they're also getting ready for winter because the season's coming. Summer, unfortunately, is gone, but you move forward, you get prepared, and the city of Wausau is prepared for the upcoming season.
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of leads me into to my next point, because you've got the city budgeting process obviously is ongoing and will be here for a couple of more weeks, but that's something that you have to be preparing for as well, is the sanding and the overtime that it'll take to take care of the roads once that snow does fly. So I'm sure that's something that's on.
Or salt or something like that. And it's like last April. Now again, a lot of these things I don't have control over, but I accept it in my position. When you get several snow emergencies, usually averaging about 1.5 to 2.5 feet worth of snow in mid to late April, you're looking outside the window thinking, well, not only have I got to deal with this now in late April, I've still got to deal with November and December too, as far as budgets for the 2018 budget season. But again, it's one of those things you try to prepare for, try to get taken care of and handled. And you know what, we usually do. And speaking of the budgets, things will be up online. We are going to have, I think, a small increase, but nothing major. The increases that we've had have been very small. Folks, this is what is happening nowadays as far as with the budget process. We are very frugal in many ways. Again, I know there's some folks that probably think otherwise, but if you look at the facts and really look at things in the way they really are, that will be posted on the city website as far as the budget for 2019. Take a look at it, see what you think. You could agree with us or not agree with us. The city council, coming up here in the next week or so, we're going to be having more budget hearings, sessions if you will, as far as their likes and dislikes. And then if everything goes right by early to mid-November, it should be approved.
So we'll be looking forward to that, as well as what's to come in a lot of other facets, because obviously last week there was a big economic development meeting, a 4-hour meeting that I know.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder if people realize how long some of these meetings can last.
Mm-hmm.
But that's part of the job. But yeah, we had 3 very good, very interesting presentations. One was a little different than the other 2, and that was the Johnson project. But all of these had merit, and the Economic Development Committee looked at these 3 proposals last night. All of them very interesting too, basically the same project that has been carried before. We want to make sure everything is taken care of. It was the first time, but unfortunately things fell apart for that developer later on. But just the same, we're going to go through the proper vetting process, making sure that things are done correctly as they should be, and as they were the first time. But just to make sure that this project gets off the ground, pardon the pun, and will get completed, which it will. Mm-hmm. And the Economic Development Committee will talk about their discussion and their findings with the City Council next week in a closed session. And as far as a decision made, I'm hoping sometime here in October. The thing is, we want to make sure we do this right. We still have the lien situation that needs to be resolved, but we're actually pretty close to all of that right now too. Everything's got to come together, but again, as I've stated before, we got to do it in a proper, correct, and very legal way. And that's probably one thing that's taken a little bit extra time, is we're making sure that things are done legally. Hence the reason why the city has been protected as it has been. again, this is a project that will be completed and taken care of. You know, we're going to move forward and do it the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. Wanted to ask you about the lien situation coming up in just a bit, but first, I know this has got to be something that's very exciting for you to have a local developer, a Wausau kid, who wants to come in and take this project over. I know he had said in the meeting, from what I had read, you know, this is my community. I'm raising my kids here. I want to see things moving forward. So you had to be excited by that, but then you also, at the other hand, had to be kind of surprised by the curveball that Gorman and Company had thrown at you, saying,
Well, the one thing
maybe it is better if you go with them.
The one thing I'll give the representative from Gorman, who's very well thought of, they're a very good developer, you know, and then really ultimately it's up to the city council how it's decided. You know, a lot of people think I have a say in the matter, and you know, I could add my insight, but I don't vote on most of anything. But again, that's up to the city council to decide what they're going to do. And you know, they're going to do the right thing to protect the city and make sure that it's done in the correct way, like I said before. And we're going to take our time in the sense of making sure it's done correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be looking forward to that. And it's the decision, you said possibly by the end of October, right?
I'm hoping. Maybe I'm being a little too optimistic, which I tend to be sometimes, but in this position you do have to be positive and optimistic, trust me. But I'm hoping that things work out that way, you know, but there's a whole mess of other things going on that got to be resolved first. Ultimately, again, it's up to the city council as far as what they want to do and who they want to go with. And if it is in October, it'll be sometime here in the fall going into early winter, you know. That season here is not here like it used to be, but you know, when it is all said and done, and it will get completed, I think most people will be very happy with what has transpired down there. Most people really are. Remember, folks, a little over 2.5 years ago, that area and what it was and what it's been transformed to now. Yeah, we had a hiccup, we had a setback, but we'll get through it. Again, we'll get it taken care of and get it done right. And people are going to know what's happening.
And again, with the, as I mentioned before, you mentioned it as well, the lien situation, I believe the city was actually served papers on that here in the last couple of weeks. Again, it's a very fluid legal process, so I know there's probably not much that you can say about it. But
it's in the process thereof, but almost all the liens and everything, you know, we're hopeful that we can have an agreement sometime here soon with these contractors who I do feel for. They need to get paid. I understand that. Again, this is something that's not the city's fault, but we want to do the right thing to make things whole, if you will, for these contractors, especially everybody involved, because you know they too have got their obligation and bills to take care of. You know, this really falls on one individual, and we've moved on from that individual, and again we're going to move forward with somebody else. The good news is there were some very good proposals put forward to us last night, 2 of them very, very similar to one another. The other one I thought was kind of interesting, so we'll wait and see what happens. So, and if we can, in the long run, I hope one day we can get it all down there. But right now we've got to untangle what's happened due to our previous developer and try to sort things out. I know we're close. So I can tell people that we're close, but we got to make sure it's done correctly.
And I suppose, again, just to ask, is there any possibility that the city is going to be on the hook for any of those, you know, $2.5 to $3 million in debts, or is Mike Franz possibly coming back and maybe finding a way to make good on that?
It's all being negotiated right now. It's still a little too early to tell. I'll be candid. I think all those options are available. You know, the city has already got about $2,775,000 set aside for that project. You know, again, we've got to make sure that things are made whole and taken care of. It's still a little early to say how it's going to be taken care of in that sense. But again, before we move forward, we want to make sure the liens and everything are taken care of, and the contractors there are taken care of. There's just things that you know that happened that probably shouldn't have. But again, honestly, that's not the city's fault.
And we'll look forward to see what transpires, because I know this is probably a subject that you're ready to put in the rearview mirror, but it just keeps coming back. But yeah, it's definitely been a long process.
Well, actually, things were going well till May. You know, again, I've said this before, nobody's more disappointed. But again, while I'm disappointed, the city did do everything right. And that's already been shown, has already been shown legally. And we're also very proactive as far as making sure that we can move ahead. But again, we had agreements with the previous developer, all of his side, everything had been met. And even way back when we heard about things going on in the Green Bay area with another project, we wanted to make sure, okay, how are you going to take care of this? And going back in the late last winter and the early spring, be it at numerous economic development, finance, and city council meetings, this individual said what he was going to do. It didn't happen. But again, from a legal stance, he met all the benchmarks and everything that he was supposed to during that time, up until probably around April or so, late March, early April. Again, that's already been discussed and talked about publicly. We're going to have to move forward and try to sort all that out. I know we're close right now. And again, this project will be done and taken care of. And when it's all said and done, there's always that small segment that always likes to complain about everything. Fine, they have that right. But I think most people by and large are going to be very happy with the end result. But again, this is really up to the city council as far as which developer they decide to go with, and the situation and with the previous developer and everything like that. It's still a work in progress right now.
We'll look forward to seeing what transpires with that over the next few weeks. So we've talked about winter. We've talked about the River Life project. We'll end on a high note. The Milwaukee Brewers in the playoffs, of course. I'm sure you're going to be following and paying attention to what
I've been to a couple
transpires.
Brewers game this year. My thing is, one was a complete surprise because whether people realize it or not, I work just about every day. Yes, bring out the violins, but yes, I paid attention. I haven't watched because most of my nights are covered with meetings or events and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm rooting for the Brew Crew. We'll see what happens. I'm pleased as punch that as much as I like the Cubs, I am glad that the Brewers won. It makes you realize like those games back in June and July that they lost, say, against Pittsburgh or St. Louis, that's when they really count. But again, it's just that transition, if you will, into winter. We got football going on right now. Now, candidly, I'm a little concerned about both the Badgers and the Packers. We'll see what happens. Not very happy with the hitting the quarter, going after the quarterback type of role.
Delaying the quarterback down.
Well,
yes.
Play the damn game, But we'll see what happens. But that's one of those things that are cool about living in Wisconsin. We have plenty of sports teams and plenty of teams to be cheerful for. And really, most of them have been very successful for a very long time. It's kind of like government. Most of the time, it's a very good high. Yeah, every now and then there's a little bit of a low, but it always comes back. And again, you got to be positive and keep that momentum going. Hopefully the Brewers will do that. I know we here at the city of Wausau will as well.
Absolutely. And it's a good distraction, too, every now and then. You just be able to turn a game on when you get home at night, right?
Usually when I get home, I fall asleep, frankly. but then I wake up 2 or 3 in the morning, I'm like, hey, I got to get this done. So
yeah.
Such is the life, but we signed up for it. Most days, we honest to God love it, and we'll keep on going that way. So
Absolutely. We always appreciate the time. Mr. Mayor,
Anytime,
we'll talk again next month.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Take care, Wausau.